Yeah, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Data Vault Friday. My name is Marc Winkelmann. I'm a consultant at Scalefree. And yeah, today in the Data Vault Friday session, we received a couple of questions, and one of them came with an example, and that's what you already see here. And the question was based on this data set or these data sets over the time, how to create a bridge table from it and how to snapshot the data as it was at the specific point in times. So the questions, or let's very quickly go over this. Let's go over this example here very quickly. And so here we have two sources. So that means two tables of data. So we have on the left-hand side here source A. So it's a business object A, I would say. And on the right-hand side, we have source B. And we have three different days. So source A in this example here is for now a little bit not that interesting because it just describes the business object A. So you can see A. I assume this is the business key, right? And here you see an attribute and you see it over the next 3 days. And you see that you have the business objects A1, A2, A3 on day 1. You have A1, A2, A3 on day 2. And on day 3, the A3 is disappearing here. So that's the thing to note. On the right-hand side, we have another source table. This is source B. And source B is related to the business object A, as you can see here, right? And here we see a relationship between B and A. And on day 1, we have the relationship between B1 and A1, B2, A2, B3, A3. And on day 2, this changes here, as you can see, because B1 is now related to A2, B2 is related to A1, B3 is completely gone now, and yeah, day 3 there looks like the same as day 2. And the question now is how to handle this, right? So how to handle missing relationships on day 2 compared to day 1, right? So here I'm referring to this to this B3, which is gone, and how to handle change relationships from day 1 to day 2 for the same key. So here you can see that the relationship between B1 and A1 is no longer existing on day 2, right? Here B1 is now related to A2. So how to handle this? So this, let me show you first. So I think you are familiar with the general data vault modeling techniques. So let me show you first one of the most obvious entities you will create out of this here when just focusing on the relationship is a link, right? So here I created a link based on all the data I got from source B. So here is the B and A, the relationship, right? Again, here on the top right corner, just a bit smaller. And now let's fill the link out of it. So here we see on day 1, we see the relationship between B1, A1, we see B2, A2, we see B3, A3, right? So that's what we saw all on day 1. So now, because the intention of the link is just showing a distinct list of relationships, not any valid from, valid to, or any effectivity dates and so on. So not here, because always imagine that you maybe have descriptive data on that link, right? And it's always better to just have one single parent key in the parent table and not more than once. Otherwise, you have a many-to-many relationships between the link and its normal satellites, and this becomes the performance drops and becomes more complex to join the data out of it, right? So therefore, here again, the link is doing its job and just containing one combination just once. So, and that means, we have on day 1, we have this combination between what we got from day 1 here from table B. And now what is new on day 2? So B1 and A2 is new, so we add it here. That's what we can see here. And in the last row here, B2 and A1, it's also this one is new, right? Nothing else. So the link doesn't tell us that we don't have the first two relationships here anymore, right? So we have a replacement on day 2, right? And very important to mention also here is, that's what you can see here at the top, is B is the primary key in the source system, right? And this is our anchor point. This is our, what we call the driving key in Data Vault. And based on this, this is necessary to know that, or to use that driving key to identify these changes accordingly. So, but let's talk about these two things we have here, or the two scenarios. We have a change in the relationship. So B1 and B2 got now different A keys here, and it's changing from A1 and A2 to, so they're just swapped here. And the additional case is B3 is completely gone, right? So it doesn't exist anymore. But the link here completely, it doesn't tell us that. Even maybe you think now, okay, we can just, based on the driving key, we just get the maximum load date timestamp out of it, and then we get the information. But what happens if B1, which was in relation with A1 on day one, then it changed to A2 on day two? What if it goes back to A1? The link doesn't change here, right? So the link will not insert B1, A1, the combination again, because it's already here, just with the load date timestamp in the past, but that's fine, right? So still keep in mind, the link is only containing distinct, it has a distinct list of relationships. So that means we need something in addition here, and this is called the effectivity satellite. I know that there is also, or let's say this way, there are different ways how to do it now. If you don't receive CDC data, you can also use a status or a record source tracking satellite. If you have a data aging business logic in place, or you have to use a data aging logic in place, data aging means you don't want to mark a missing key or a changing relationship as as a change from the very beginning, or as a delete at the from the very beginning, because you have maybe not a reliable extract mechanism from the source, and it's normal that not 100% of the data reaches you every day, right? So, and you want to give the missing keys a chance to appear maybe on the next day, right? And you don't want to mark it as deleted from the right on the first day. So that's the reason for that's the data aging concept. From reality perspective, I really rarely use that, right? So what we usually do, or what we usually have, is either a CDC mechanism, or we say, hey, if it disappears, we mark it as removed, and if it appears the day after, we activate it again, right? And to have this flexibility, that's the point. So in this result, I usually like then to use directly the effectivity satellite, which handles this. So let's have a look on how this effectivity satellite looks like, and let me also explain you how this is loaded. Because this is how the effectivity satellite, which hangs on the link, right? It's a kind of a satellite on the link, and this is how it would look like on day one. So here we can see on day one, we mark all the combinations B1, B2, B3 with A1, A2, and A3. We mark it as, I added the column here, is active. I named it. Everything is true. So, but now we have on the second day, we have the two scenarios. The keys change for B1 and B2. So the A keys change for B1 and B2, and B3 is completely gone. So we need to handle this as well. So here we have, to catch the first scenario here, we have a key change for the driving keys, for the B key. And this is here on the first two rows for B1 and B2. So we add the new ones here, B1 and B2. And in the next step, we mark the old relationships. So that means this one here, B1A1, which we have here at the very top, and the B2A2, which we also have here. Now we mark it as is active false, right? So that we have this update. And the last step here is to also remove the B3 here, because it's completely disappearing. Okay. So, and now also, let's say on the next day, B1 gets back to A1. So that means we again add two rows on the next day, let's say on day 3 or on day 4. We add two additional rows where we deactivate this one here. We deactivate this one here, the current one, and reactivate the old one. The link stays the same, right? So the link we try to keep small, and with the reasons I explained earlier, this stays with a good performance and with an uncomplicated way of joining it. Okay, So now we have this effectivity satellites, which give us the complete audit trail, what happens regarding changing of the keys and also complete removal of the keys. And now we want to create a bridge table out of it, right? So we want to create a bridge table to snapshot the relationships that we can combine the bridge table with the pit tables we have for the object A and the object B, and that we can join on keys and the snapshot dates. So let's have a look on how the bridge table is created. So first of all, for day one, the snapshot for day one, we just take the first 3 rows from the effectivity satellite. As you can see here as well, as we always have the filter is active is true, right? So we only want to show in the bridge the relationships which were really active at this point in time, right? So that's why I create usually the bridge table. And yeah, so for day one, I think it's very easy because it's the first time we get data and we just take all the relationships we got and yeah, show them as, hey, we had these 3 relationships on day one. So now on day 2, we have these 2 ones, right? So we have these 2 ones. We don't show A1, B1 and A2, B2 anymore because the most recent record for this combination is here, and they are marked as false, right? So this is the most recent delta we can get for day 2, but they're marked as false, so that's why we don't show them up in the bridge table. So the current status for on day 2 is that we have a relationship between A2 and B1 and A1 and B2. Then on day 3, same here, we are just nothing changed from day 2 to day 3, as we can see here. So we just create 2 new entries in the bridge table, but they point to the same entries in the effectivity satellite, right? So when I go one step back, it's really just this. So, and this is how we create basically a standard bridge table, just focusing on the keys, right? So we don't add any logic or further logic in here. We don't aggregate data. We don't, everything is optional here, right? But the bridge table I showed you here is really, let's say, templatable, right? So you have templates or in, for example, if you want to have bridge macro effectivity satellite macros or templates, I wrote some of them in different projects, and I have it in Jinja. So if you're using Jinja 2 in some cases or any similar templating language, just reach out to me, mwinkelmann@scalefree.com, so we can have a talk to how to implement this in your projects. All right, so that's basically it for the bridge table. Then there was one additional question here because the focus or the perspective on how this person here looked on the data was more coming from the business object A. So, and when we have a look on the source A here again, we see we have A1, A2, A3 on the day 1, right? And here you have A1, A2, A3. But starting from day 2, you have A1, A2, A3 still in the source system, but A3 is missing here on day 2, right? Because A3 has no relationship anymore to any B object. So, but how to, and the question was how to still keep, yeah, that's this one here, how to include A3 on day 2 here. So, and the answer is basically it's the way on how you join the data together at the end, right? So if the perspective you're coming from is really the A object, then you also start from the A object. So you start joining from the point in time table from, or I imagine you have a hub A, you have satellites on this hub A, you have maybe a pit table on this hub and its satellites. Then you start from there and then you left join into the bridge table, and yeah, you will not find anything for A3 on snapshot day 2. So you will receive null values, or you can use a call last to use a dummy entry for that, right? So if you want to say unknown or something like this. So yeah, so that's basically it. This is not or to answer this question, the last question here is not, I wouldn't do any change in the bridge itself. I wouldn't show or let's say the bridges usually and also the effectivity satellites are more driven by the driving keys, right? And when I go back, the A column here is not the driver, right? So the B column is the driver. The data comes from the object B, so B is the driver here. So everything should be around the B, and if the B doesn't have any A, then that's the case, right? So I wouldn't go it the other way around. So this makes it, I didn't do it yet, but I think it's more complicated. So I would more move this perspective on, hey, I want to have the perspective from A, move it on more downstream on the way how you join the data together. Start with the A object, left join into the bridge table, and then you have your answers. But always still, the best practice is as soon as you join on links or on relationships or multiple relationships together, right? So a bridge table can also contain 2, 3, 4, 5 links together in one bridge table at the end. Always take care of Cartesian products. You have to, you need to know the cardinality between the objects. Is it a one-to-one? Is it a one-to-many relationship or a many-to-many relationship? And therefore, a join on the driving key in the bridge table, the join on the driving key is usually the best way, is best practice, because this doesn't result in unexpected Cartesian products. And this is also, I think, called the fan error or something like this, right? So where you join into something, and because the key appears multiple times there, you multiply the data, your data. And then when you do an aggregate at the end, you maybe get unexpected and much too high results at the end. So really be careful when using that. Okay. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Again, feel free to submit more questions. Yeah, you can do it here on Scalefree, or yeah, you can read the link here, right? And yeah, thanks for joining, and let me know if you still have any questions here in the chat, or if you want to talk, I can also unmute you. It's also no problem. And yeah, but I don't see any questions, no raised hands here. So thank you. And also, if you have more questions, join the Data Innovators Exchange. That's a platform where it's a community. That's the word I search for. It's a community for data professionals, and I'm also very active there. So if you have any questions and you want to have a more short-term answer, right? Then just ask, or also a wider community, right? So then not one or two persons here are answering it. So, but you ask everyone there, right? And yeah, sign up and have a nice weekend, and see you maybe then the next weeks. I think Michael's on vacation 2 weeks. Maybe we see each other next week as well. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a nice weekend and see you. Bye bye.